G'day, Dublin QNH 1020 hectopascals. The active runway in Dublin is runway 10, maintained via 4, clear controlled airspace.
1020, 10 is active, main clear controlled airspace. Out west for about 20 minutes, I'll call you, head back into west. Not above 4,000 feet.
That's copied.
Your rendering options are set too high, really? That's interesting. I'm pretty sure my rendering options are good. Yeah, we could turn it down a little bit. Let's turn the anti-aliasing down slightly. There we go. Should do. Okay, welcome aboard this easyJet service from London Luton to Lisbon. Currently with Dublin Real ATC providing the traffic. Why is this so laggy? Don't tell me it's going to... No, I'm pretty sure I've only launched one thing, rendition of X. But anyway, let's get things underway. Hopefully the frame rates will sort themselves out. So ignition, engine master 1, 2. So I'm going to get battery 1, 2 on. Stop Why are my computers being such a potato at the moment? AP master and AP start. So a couple of seconds. Right. Gee, that's really... What's the weather here in the... Ooh, it's looking a bit interesting. Weather, grey. It's not that grey at Luton at the moment, is it? It can't be right. Anyway, just got to wait a few minutes for the APU to power up. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Set that up for the next stream. This is pretty much still a test stream, so hopefully it will run okay. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Because this APU takes all day to load up. Jesus. There we go. We are live and kicking finally. So APU starts. Cabin lights don't need. Flaps are up. Ground spoilers are retracted to some. Probe window heat and APU bleed we can set now. There and there. Cross bleed, air compacts 1, 2 are on. So cross bleed check. That's here. Temperature selectors, we don't need to touch those. Electrical panel is checked. Ventilation is checked, and we'll get the ADIRs aligned now. 2, 3. I just remembered I need to actually start this flight, don't I? Sure, I remembered that. So right, the ADIRs are done. Emergency lights armed. Landing elevation set auto. Engine tests. Strobe lights auto on. Is attempt to set, we can set that according to the X-Enviro weather briefing. Zero 19. Oops. That's my checklist. AC clearance where I'm not flying with ATC, so let's imagine they cleared me back. I will now program the FMC. What's wrong with my frames today? Jesus, I don't know if it's the weather conditions or what. That's not wanting to move about the screen, fair enough. Okay, so let's go to initialize, jump across to there. So we are in Luton, of course, EGGW, flying down today to Lisbon, which is LPPT. LPPT. Let's initialize that. Line and ref, confirm, turn. Cost index is, I believe, about 7. Cruising altitude is going to be 37,000 feet. Yep, sounds about right. Brilliant. This we can come across to our performance data and just set like so. Saves a whole lot of hassle. Beautiful. And now we go to performance page minute because we want to trim the position up 1.4. So let's see, 1 up 1.4. Yep. God, who's ringing me? Jesus, really? Hello. Hi there. Yeah, sorry about that. Impromptu phone call in the middle. Alright, so we've just set the flaps. Okay. Right, so now we go to... no, sorry, we don't go to that at all. We go to that. We depart out from runway 8 via the CPT-6C. Yes, insert that. And then from CPT... we are routing a Y321, Yankee 321, Yankee 321, down to Pepis, and from Pepis, Quebec 41, takes us to Sam. From Sam, Mike 195, takes us to Lorku. Uniform November 866. To Coral. Aspor direct. And Zamax. That is the last waypoint. So we insert into that. We now go for our arrival. Is going to be ILS 21Z. Actually, having said that, yeah, 21. ILS 21Z. Jesus. Yeah, and the star we want. Better have a look at that actually. Let's come back to our charts. Our last waypoint was Zamax, so we want the Zamax. Let's say 21. So we can take the Zamax 5 or Zama 5 Bravo arrival, I reckon. Yeah, that will do. So no transition. Let's insert that. Go back to performance page, a minute, flex temperature. I'm not going to calculate, I'm just going to stick 40 in there, it usually serves me well enough. And set the V speeds in. There we go. Brilliant. Let's just put the flight plan page up. We'll check through that once we've departed, make sure there's no discos. Okay, so we've done that. Flight directors on. I'm going to set the cruising altitude today is going to be, should tell you in a minute, 37,000 feet, so I'll plug that in now. Might as well. Oops. Okay, and let me see. All looks good. Set. ILS off now. Mode set. ATC, TCAS. Well, these frames are so lousy. Normally I get quite good FP. I mean, I've not got it on the max settings for any stretch of the imagination. I'll have to look into that a bit more and improve the performance. Anti-skid, weather radar, thrust levers. Ignition selected. DIS should be aligned soon. Whilst we're waiting doors and seatbelt signs, no smoking. Seatbelt signs, no smoking. Beacon lights on onboard checklist. Tow truck, let's see if I can create. Fuel pumps can all come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we can pre-plan the pushback. Plugins, better pushback. Pre-plan pushback. Yeah, it's good. Well, we'll do that as soon as the IRS finishes aligning in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. There we go. A minute. The X camera's not working. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So here we are in London Luton. It's an early morning departure. That's probably why the frame rate's tanking when it shouldn't be. IRS in a line in 1 minute. 1 minute. So we've just got to wait a bit for those to do their thing. And then we can finally push back, as I say, departing out runway 8 via, which SID did we get? The CP SID, I think. Hold on, let me go to Luton charts. SIDs. Yeah, the Compton departure. Expecting runway 21 on arrival via Lazama to Bravo arrival, I believe. Hello, Milo McDonald. Wow, someone's actually watching this video. Welcome to my channel. We'll hopefully be pushing back shortly. IRS are now in a line, so we'll be pushing back from gate shortly and be on our way. Flight time today is going to be in the region of about 2.5 hours. So you're welcome to stay with me for the duration, or if you want to check back for the landing later, that's roughly how long it's going to take us. Right, IRS is in the line, so hopefully we can begin our pushback momentarily. Always takes a little bit of time this. I can probably set it up to go a bit quicker because no one wants to sit here for a few minutes and watch nothing happening, really, do they? Although, having said that, it is, I suppose, more realistic. Well, we're going to go ahead and push back because it's going to take time for him to come and set us up. Push back. Ah, there we go, it's finally appeared on my I'm going to check which end runway is actually. Let me get my departure charts up. Airport info, so runway 8 departure. Ah, it's going to be down the hilly end, crap. I need to fix the well, you'll see. I need to fix the scenery mesh for this airport because there's a bit of a hill at, in fact this runway is quite uneven, so there's a bit of a hill at runway 8. There is some better mesh I can download for my auto scene, which I am going to do later, some specific England mesh apparently, because as you'll see when we get down to the end of runway 8 there's a little bit of a dip. Anyway, just waiting for the pushback guys. They're not the quickest, to be fair, to get us pushing back and give us a better view than this rather close up of the terminal. Yeah, Jesus, he's taking his time. Yeah, hello again, Milo McDonald. How are you? Welcome back. I hope you can hear me actually. As I say, this is sort of the first time I've really streamed on YouTube, so yeah, if you can hear me, let me know. Be a bit of a bad show if I find out I'm just talking to myself. This guy is taking for ages to push me back. I'm sorry about this. Normally they're a little bit quicker. Oh, come on, Mr. Ground Person. There's people who want to see me fly this plane. Okay, super. Thanks for that, Milo. I'm just hoping better pushback gets a shift on, because it'd be nice to get underway. I don't know if he's actually, maybe he's already waiting for me to release my parking brake. Tell you what, let's just go and release the parking brake and see what happens. Oh, there we go. Super. Okay, we can start the engines. Start engine number 2. This is just freeware Luton scenery we're using here. I do believe UK 2000 have a Luton scenery for, well, they certainly do for P3D. I don't know if they've released the X-Plane version yet. The background ATC you can hear, in case you're interested, is from live ATC net, and I'm using Dublin because none of the UK frequencies are on live ATC, unfortunately, so Dublin was sort of the next nearest. It just provides a little bit of immersion, quite like it. Gives you something to listen to actually when I can't think of anything to say, which is handy as well. Okay, we can start engine number 1 now. Engine should be stabilised in a minute. Let's run through the next parts of the checklist. This is being flown offline, of course. I do fly on VATSIM. In fact, I should be doing a VATSIM flight later on this evening. That's probably going to be on P3D though, so probably depends if you like both simulators or not. But I fly on both simulators, so on this channel we get P3D and X-Plane content. Right, let me just run through the checklist a minute. APE bleed can come off now. Air compacts are already on. Ground spoilers, I can arm those. Hang on, I need to do that manually. My keyboard shortcut doesn't work on there. Didn't want to literally turn them on. On. Auto brake set to maximum. Red trim, pitch trim, flaps. Set those out. I'm going to set my parking brake actually. Okay, flaps set. AP master can come off now. Anti-ice, probably not going to need that. It's a lovely warm day here in the UK. Let me just double check if I set the altimeter 1019. Yeah, that's set. Nose lights and runway turn-offs can be set. Oops. Brilliant. Brake can be released. There's a new update for the flight factor A320. In fact, I think it's in beta stage at the moment. It does actually now add a weather radar, so I'll be downloading that later and trying that out at some point across the weekend. Hopefully there's not too many bugs in it. Yeah, it'd be nice because there's not too many. I mean, I only have this in X-Plane, mainly this A320 and of course the Zebo. I'm not sure if the Zebo's got a weather radar. I think there's a terrain radar it's had for a while. I don't know if they've implemented a weather radar yet. I need to update that as well, come to think of it. Right, we are now actually ready to taxi. I think I can remember the way. I do actually have, this is quite useful, I do have Navigraph charts which has moving maps, but I also have, I should just get it down on my plugins here, this as well, Airport VS, and you can see that provides a useful map as well. So that's payware actually, I think, Airport VS, I seem to remember. I can't remember, it's not hugely expensive I don't think. But it's another option of having a being able to navigate yourself. I mean, it's not too bad at Luton. You can't really get lost at Luton, but some of the bigger airports can be a little bit awkward. So yeah, I was talking earlier about the big dip down the end of runway 8, and yeah, we hope that's not going to cause a problem. This is Ortho for XP version 1.3 I'm using for the scenery, with obviously custom generated ortho tiles, and it does also allow you to have the contoured runways, because the previous version of Ortho didn't really have anything to accommodate that, and you ended up with some pretty hideous dips in your runways. So yeah, we'll just have to backtrack down and spin it around at the end of runway 8, and the turning circle in this is not always great. The FS Labs A320 on P3D turns on a sixpence, and this doesn't.
Approaching 0.
So the brakes are also a little bit harsh on it as well. Yeah, you have two settings for these brakes. Either it takes 3 miles to stop your plane, or slams on the emergency brakes. So yeah,
on runway 26
jolts about a bit. Backtracking on the runway now. I can turn that off because yeah, we know where we are. We'll need those on. Strobes can come on now. Takeoff lights. Packs off for takeoff. And yes, try not to go off the end of the dip here. Oh, you're going to stay for the whole stream? Oh, thank you very much. Okay, no pressure. I'll have to try and find something to talk about to keep you entertained. Or if you have any questions yourself about any of these simulators that you'd like to know, feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer them. Can't promise I'll know the answer, but you never know. Yeah, as you can see, the turning circle is pretty horrendous. And you can now
on runway 0.
Hold on, let me just line this up better. Oops. Yeah, in reality, this plane, because I've flown out of Luton in obviously real life, and these planes do turn a hell of a lot sharper than this. Right, so we are now ready to depart. Here, I should have pressed the takeoff config. Let's just make sure everything's set up there nicely. TCAS is on standby. I need to make that active down there. Packs are already off. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I have missed. I don't think so. Yes, just start the clock on here. Okay, and then we can depart out. Manflex plus 40, SRS, and away we go. Yeah, what does the plane look like? Once we're airborne and under autopilot control, I can certainly jump to an external view for you, so you can have a look around. Rotate. Whoop. Okay. Hey, what's going on there? It's a little bit sensitive. Gear up as we have positive rate of climb. Put the autopilot on in a minute. yeah, as I say, once I climb to a reasonable altitude and have everything under control, I'll certainly show you some external views of our plane. Oh yeah, got to put the packs back on. Got an altitude restriction at the moment of 4,000 in the FMC is according to the SID, but we can always assume that ATC would clear us above that. Flaps up. So we're going to circle around now. Once we've completed the turn, I'll override that altitude restriction and get the plane climbing. Because the trouble is with these SIDs, if you do follow them to the letter, especially I think the Clacton 4 Sierra departure out of Stansted, if you do follow it to the letter, you're still at 4,000 feet literally by the time you're coming out towards Clacton, and in reality that you just don't stay that low that long. ATC will clear you higher a lot quicker than that. Of course, as I said, this flight we're flying offline. Later on I will be on VATSIM. That's just for a short hop. I'm planning doing Heathrow to Cork flight. So we'll just straighten up here and then should be able to see the airport out to our right as we come. Oh, it's quite hazy. Yeah, I was hoping to be able to see a little bit better than that. As we lift the wings up, we should. There's Luton. Right. Okay, let's override that and start climbing. As I say, otherwise we will be here at this altitude for a while. So yeah, I'll just get a little bit higher and get a standard QNH and everything, and then yeah, I'll give you a look from outside the plane as you asked for.
Air 1 Delta Victor, contact ground 118.755. 118.755.
Yeah, transitional altitudes usually around about 6. There we go, it started to flash. It tells me I need to switch to the standard, which we've done now. Once we hit about 10,000 feet, we can turn out the lights. So yeah, quick look outside the plane then. There we are. So obviously the new easyJet livery they have these days. Previous to this, you pretty much just had a white fuselage and orange, I think orange letters down the side saying easyJet from what I remember, and orange engines. So they've just made it a little bit more orange. It's quite nice, quite like it. Don't know why the ground's so foggy. It's a shame because you're not really getting to see the ortho scenery very well. I don't think the METAR said the visibility was. Let's have a look in a minute. Let me get there if it tells me. X-Enviro weather briefing. No, it doesn't really say. It just variable winds at 3 knots. No, doesn't really tell me too much of that. Okay, approaching 10,000 feet, so we can. Oh, my frame rate's improved, I think. Turn the landing lights, taxi lights, and runway turn-offs can all come off. So do you fly on X-Plane or P3D at all then? I assume you obviously do, hence you've got an interest in watching this. Okay, cool, nice. Do you fly general aviation or airliners, or what do you typically fly? Yeah, sure, I know what you mean. I mean, I mostly fly the A320, 738, or 737-800 rather, certainly an X-Plane, and then in P3D, again, those two. Also, the 777 sometimes, the Boeing 717, that's very nice, I like that aircraft. The Dash Q8-400, that's a real handful, and the CRJ 700, 900, which have a bit sort of a it can be quite annoying. It doesn't have an auto throttle, and yeah, it can be quite a handful to fly that one. But my favourite one out of those, it's difficult to say, but I mean, I kind of like them all. I mean, I probably, as I say, spend most of my time in the A320 and the 737, but that's typically because of the routes and airlines I use. I operate those planes, but yeah, I'm happy enough to fly other stuff. I think the one good thing about the A320 is typically you can get it set up quite quickly from cold and dark and underway. The 737, there's a few more sort of switches to muck around with. But yeah, I think my first payware when I first started flight simming, actually my first sort of serious payware was actually an A320. So yeah, if you're new to flight simming, I think it's a good plane to start with because it gives you a little bit of complexity, but it's not hugely daunting. It's not really awkward. I mean, the Dash 8 is a bit of a handful to set up and use, both sort of on the switches and controls, and its FMC takes a little bit of getting used to. But yeah, the A320 you can get set up reasonably well and just kick back and relax for the most part. It does occasionally throw a wobbly, give you something to think about, but yeah, on the whole, it's a pretty reasonable, straightforward aircraft to use. landing it I can find can be quite interesting, because it seems, certainly with the FFA320, I often find you have to begin your flare a little bit early, because if you don't, if you leave it too late, it can be a bit slow to respond to changes in pitch and apply relevant thrust to keep the speed, and if you're not careful, you can easily come down with quite a thump. That's yeah, we shall see how this flight goes. I don't know what the weather is in Lisbon at the moment. I'll have a quick look. It's usually probably going to be pretty reasonable, I'd imagine. Let's have a look. Lisbon, LPTT, I think it was. Yeah. So yeah, the weather there currently is, oh okay, having said that, it's currently overcast in Lisbon with a 16 knot wind from 200 degrees. I mean, we're landing on runway 21, which will be pretty much a straight in approach. In fact, I better check that actually before I forget. We come down to our plan here, and we can just cycle through and make sure. Oh, nice, but let me move the FMC. Japan. Just cycle through the route and make sure everything is in order. Okay, so far so good. Yeah, looks pretty nice. Pretty much a straight in approach. Okay. How long is the flight? Yes, the flight time is in the region. If you can see, we've just taken off and 14 minutes have elapsed. Our air time, according to SimBrief, is expected to be around about 2.5 hours. So we should have wheels down in about 2 hours 15 minutes. So yeah, as I say, of course you're welcome to stay for full length, or if you did just want to check back for the landing later, then yeah, we can expect arrival, obviously subject a little bit to the winds, which are currently a crosswind. So yeah, we're probably looking about just over 2 hours before we're going to arrive into Lisbon. Don't know actually, because typically, in reality, if your route's not always particularly straight, ATC can give you direct to clearances. So I may be able to shave some time off. We shall see how we get on. Oh, what's wrong with my throttle? Hold on, that should be set on. That should be set on climb. Let's wonder why it's not speeding up. That's interesting. Auto throttle is engaged. Why are we sitting on 240? That's interesting. Huh. Having said this usually goes... oh yeah, of course, idiot. I've still got it on... got to set it back on VNAV. There we go. Schoolboy error. Should now see the speed increase on that. There we go. Yeah, no, that's great. As I said, you're totally welcome to stay. It's be nice to have some company actually, because yeah, 2.5 hours of sitting here with not huge amounts to look at is yeah, I don't know, I quite enjoy it sometimes. Especially great if you got, well, I say scenery, you can't see anything, it's so damn hazy. But it's early in the morning. Obviously as the sun rises, hopefully that should simulate a clearer picture. Although most of the scenery we're flying over is going to be the default scenery, I've still got huge amounts of... I've got the disk space, I've just got to have the time to download all the ortho tiles, and it's quite time consuming. So typically I just have the ortho scenery around my airports and then yeah, slowly build it up that way. But yeah, it'd be nice to eventually cover the whole of Europe. But it takes a lot of disk space. I mean, to give you an idea, I've bought I have a 6 terabyte external hard drive, which I upload most of my tiles to. Oh, there we go, we're up at normal speed now. I can't believe I forgot to put that back on VNav. Never mind. Oh, we can turn the seatbelts off. The amount of times I forget to do that. Not that it has any bearing on things other than that your virtual passengers up the back won't be able to get up and stretch their legs. Just want to have a look on my yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think why that is. I'll have to look into that. Because I have obviously the way I've got it set up is obviously I have the chat down the right, and then also it should show up on the main screen as well. So if there's a delay in that, I shall have to. Yeah, I shall have to. I mean, yeah, I haven't really, to be honest, used this Streamlabs OBS much, so I'm still very much new to it. But yeah, thanks for letting me know about that. I'll look into that and see if I can find out why there's a bit of lag, and then hopefully in future streams I can have it that it's more instant. I have to try and figure that out. Actually, if I go on, if I access my own stream on my phone, I'm interested to see how it looks. Actually, just see. So if I go on to that, yeah, as I say, I'm still very new to this, so I still need to figure around, watch some tutorials on Streamlabs OBS and get it set up properly. But yeah, once I figure it out, it should definitely be a bit better. So other flights I've got coming up, as I said, later on I'll be going from Heathrow to Cork. That's a much shorter flight. It's just a quick hop across the Irish Sea. And then later in the week, where we got Glasgow down to Budapest. That's going to be quite a longish flight. And then also Stansted across to Tallinn again. Yeah, so the Glasgow to Budapest one will be in the region of about 3-hour flights. Got Stansted up to Tallinn, which should take me around about just over 2 hours. And then yeah, wherever else. So I fly for a number of virtual airlines. This was obviously virtual easyJet we're using. I also do virtual Ryanair, do another virtual airline, Fly UK, and then also using Project Fly, I do Wizz Air flights. I also do a virtual Delta, and then also from Project Fly, occasionally KLM long haul. But when I say long haul, that's not literally me here sitting for a 12-hour flight. I will speed up the cruise phase, because as much as I like to have the time to sit here for 12 hours and to fly from, I don't know, Amsterdam to Vancouver or somewhere, I sadly don't have that kind of time, so typically I accelerate the time for the cruise phase. That still takes a good 4 hours. It's So we've reached our cruising altitude. So there's not much to do now except sit back, relax, and I'd say enjoy the view, but it's still as hazy as it. I think this is partly because of X-Enviro, which is in fact the weather engine I'm using here. You can, Active Sky is now available on X-Plane. However, because I have Active Sky on P3D, for X-Plane I just wanted to be a bit different, so I got X-Enviro instead, which it's okay, it's room for improvement. I mean, the good things about it I like is that I feel you get a good feel for the height of the clouds. They feel quite far below you. I find that in P3D with Active Sky, often or not, even when you're cruising, the clouds can feel a lot closer to you than they should be. With X-Enviro, they do feel they're a reasonable way below you. So that's one good thing. The bad thing is, obviously, you can see here, the haze is a bit. Yeah, it's not great. It's a bit jaggy, but we try not to notice that too much. There's supposed to be a new version of X-Enviro coming. It's apparently in beta. When it's going to be released, I haven't a clue. I keep checking the news on the X-Enviro website, and it's gone rather quiet since they said they're in beta testing. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Hopefully, it will drop before too long, because it promises to bring some interesting features. For example, dynamic snow cover. Not that's really going to be applicable this time of year now, but certainly if you fly in colder climates, it might be interesting. Because obviously, X-Plane 11 doesn't have seasonal terrain, as in P3D has with its Orbix. So it's one drawback, I suppose, with X-Plane. Not that it really bothers me too much, to be quite honest, because conversely I just download the ortho scenery, and when you can see it, when it's not completely hazy, it does look really nice. As we get over towards France, I shall change the live ATC feed, because it will be a bit weird listening to Dublin ATC when we're flying. Let me just check where we are on my Navigraph chart. So yeah, I'm going to switch over the live ATC feed. Let's see if I can find something from French airspace for us to listen to. Let's have a look. France, so here we go. So we got a choice of Paris Orly. I suppose Bordeaux would be nearer, but then that's probably not a very busy airport. Let's go see what we get from Paris. So we got departure, approach, tower. Which should we choose? I'm going to go for. Let's go for approach. Is it possible to have a mod that will give you an engine fire? That's a very good question, actually. I believe you can set up. I'm trying to think. I certainly know in the FS Labs one you can have simulate failures. To be honest, I'm not sure. I'd have to check if you can simulate failures. And I mean, typically I don't simulate failures. But I believe some planes you can. But the short answer to your question is I don't currently know. But what I am going to do is I'll quickly look that up for you, actually, because now you mention it, I'm interested to know as well. Flight factor A320 simulate failures. Okay, can we simulate failures in the Flight Factor A320?
Bonjour,
Yeah, apparently failures are not fully implemented yet in the Flight Factor A320, so it would appear that currently you can't, but I do believe it is something they are looking to add. I know, for example, actually, having said that, they recently, as I say, rolled out a new update on the Flight Factor A320 just recently. I haven't downloaded it yet. Will be this weekend. I don't know if that incorporates any failures. I haven't had a chance to read through the full patch notes on that, but currently I believe that no, you can't. Whether someone's done a mod for it, though, as you ask again, that's always a possibility. But again, as I say, because I don't typically simulate failures, it's not something I sort of look to add to my aircraft. That's interesting that obviously I've now tuned into Paris, and they're speaking in French, which is interesting because typically the international language of ATC is obviously English, although when they speak to more local traffic, then yeah, sure, they will use French or whatever, whatever the language of whatever country you happen to be flying over. Oh, there you go, now it's speaking English. Actually, listening to this live ATC feed is quite useful. Actually, if you're thinking about, I don't know if you fly on VATSIM or not, but if you are thinking about VATSIM and sort of want to get used to sort of the terminology that is used, then listening to live ATC feeds is actually a good way to sort of get an understanding of the various sort of things you need to know about. I just need to take a quick 5-minute break actually, because I need to go and feed my 4-legged co-pilot. I shall be back in about 5 minutes.
à droite, cap 320, vitesse 229.
722, 320 à droite, 480 Romeo.
Appel 114 Victor, descendez 4000 pieds, connage 1018. Alpine 25, number whiskey, descent threshold 70, speed 2509.
Paris Pauli, Royal Mark 770 Charlie, bonjour. Descending flight level 100, information.
Corsica 782 Romeo, tournez à droite, cap 030, autorisé approche IS, piste 06.
030, quel est 06, 4, Corsica 782 Romeo.
Royal Mark 770 Charlie, bonjour, Giro 5 Echo, à l'instant 06, maintain threshold 100, reaching, keep the speed.
Maintain 100, when reaching and keep speed, Royal Mark 770 Charlie.
Air France 36 Echo Québec, test 222.
ID 222 Air France 36 au Québec.
Et Air France Echo Québec, autorisé IS, P 06.
Autorisé ILS 06 Air France 36 au Québec.
Corsica 782 Romeo, rappelez à la réduction de vitesse.
On va commencer doucement à 780 Romeo.
Monsieur vers 180, c'est correct.
Oui, affirme.
Corsica 782 Romeo, contactez à tour, fin du 17, bonne journée.
18-7 également en ciel.
Air France 36 Echo Québec, vitesse 201.
On aurait dit 202 Air France 36 au Québec, 205 minutes, ça vous convient?
Approuvé. Victor, on a droite, cap 285.
À droite, cap 2, 8, 5, dans le
Royal Mark 770 Charlie, descend threshold 70.
Down 70, Royal Mark 770 Charlie.
Okay, we're back in the flight deck.
Charlie, bonjour, François 3981, on a un Romeo, on descend au 100 pour être stable à Malba.
Je rappelle, Air France 36 Québec, vitesse 182.
ID 182 Air France 36 au Québec.
I can't believe the the cloud. Jeez, it's flying through some high level stuff now. Wonderful.
Oui. En fait, 3981. Bonjour, mode bas 5 Echo, ILS 06, maintenez niveau 100 atteignant, gardez la vitesse.
Ouais, 5 Echo, maintient niveau 100 et la vitesse 3981.
Echo Québec, vitesse 169, contactez à tour 37, bonne journée.
ID 132 117 Air France 36 au Québec, à tout à l'heure.
5 whiskey, descent 4000 feet, 1201.
How are we flying so fast? Well, it's let's have a look. Our ground speed is 439 knots, which we can see down here, and TAS, which I think is total airspeed, is 448. It looks like we're flying so fast, probably because, well, as I say, we've got this high level cloud shooting past, which makes it look like we're going pretty damn quick. The winds, well, we're not really getting assistance from wind, are we? But yeah, probably because of just the visual effect of this cloud flying past so close to us just makes it look like we're going really quickly. If it was a clear day and you could see the terrain miles below us, then it looked like we're going quite slowly actually. But it's all sort of relative to the distance of objects away from you. I was hoping we were going to get a bit clearer skies so we could actually see something, but Never mind.
770 Charlie, on heading intercept localizer runway 06.
On present heading, we are cleared localizer 06 Royal Maroc 770 Charlie.
Not how much longer we're going to have this high level cloud for. That's it. Would be nice to see something.
Five number whiskey, turn right, 285.
Right. 85.
One more turn 70 Charlie, listen 5,000 feet, current 1018, I call you back for glide.
Down 5,000 feet, Greenish 1018, and waiting for the glide over Maroc 770 Charlie.
Corsica 714 Victor, vitesse 229, tournée à droite, cap 320.
Cap 320, Corsica.
Enfin, 3981, descendez niveau 70, vitesse 259.
On est au 70 259, en soleil 3980.
When you fly, do you sort of typically fly around Europe as well, or sort of what sort of places do you like flying to? Is it
Corsica 774 Victor, tournée à droite, cap 030, autorisé approche ILS 606. Alpine 32 Mac GS, bonjour, Malba 5 Echo, à la runway 06, maintain patrol 100 reaching, keep the speed.
Malba 5 Echo, keep flight 100 reaching and turn off Alpine 6
One more turn 70 Charlie, clear at runway 06, speed 2209. And speed 2209.
Denver? Okay, yeah. I mean, I do a lot of my flying around Europe. So, are you? Whereabouts are you? In the UK or States or Europe somewhere? Because I typically, as I say, fly mostly around Europe. I also do some flying around America. As I said, I fly for Virtual Delta, so you will see some flights around there. Typically there, because I find other areas, certainly in P3D, even with Orbix, there's not a great representation of example large parts of Asia or indeed Africa. The scenery is actually awful in quite a few areas. It doesn't have the degree of detail that Europe and the Americas do, for example. So I'm not so sure whether the X-plane scenery. I mean, obviously I can download Orbix Ortho, but typically I just want to fill up Europe and parts of America, as that's predominantly where I fly. So any flying I do elsewhere will probably be just mostly default scenery, certainly on X-plane. I don't know what it's like for Africa and Asia. Plus, typically, if you're flying online, something like VATSIM, most of the coverage tends to be in sort of Europe and North America. You don't really get too much ATC online in sort of I don't know, Botswana, for example. So, which is a shame, because there's probably some really nice places to fly around down there. It's, so yeah, we're about, let's see, 46 minutes into the flight, so we've got about another hour and a half to go. We are currently, if I look at my the map. Well, yeah, we're currently just flying over Brittany, France, out in now across the Bay of Biscay, and then it'll be down into northern Spain, northern Portugal, and down to Lisbon. But as I say, unfortunately we can't really see much because of this current weather, which is a shame.
And the heading and speed 200 knots. Fox Golf Mike, descendez 4000 pieds, éclairage 1018, tourne à gauche 10 degrés. Charlie, speed 18 knots, minimum 56, nautical miles, contact 118, decimal 7, goodbye.
Speed 180 knots until 6 miles and wind tower 180.7, weather block 770 Charlie, bye bye.
Mouse pointer out of the way.
39, descendez 4000 pieds, éclairage 1018.
80 pieds, 1018, François 3980.
Alpine 25, November Whiskey, turn right, heading 030, clear, runway 06.
Right.
Ew. Yes, it's high level clouds, really quite annoying now. Really can't see too much at all. Can we look directly? Yeah, it's there's the coast. You can just make it through the cloudy haze just below us there.
Only you want to 119 and Lima Zulu, reaching flight level 120, only low information Zulu and 1321, connect information.
Running 1 Lima Zulu, bonjour, audio 5 echo, runway 06, maintain patrol 100 reaching, keep the speed.
Keep the speed, flight level 120, 119 and Lima Zulu.
Alpine 25, November Whiskey, speed 180 knots, report speed 118, decimal 7, goodbye.
Oh, come on, weather. Surely you've got to get better than this.
Bonjour, Malbar 5 echo, runway 06, maintain patrol 100 reaching, keep the speed.
Malbar 5 echo, 06, we maintain level 100 and the speed when reaching at 100.
Fox Golf Mike, tourne à gauche, cap 100, interceptez le radial 064 dessus et autorisé approche, descendez 3000 pieds, clinage 1018, autorisé approche bord dans cette gauche.
Gauche 100, on descend 3000 pieds, clinage 1018 et on intercepte le 064 de Tango sur uniforme,
Alpine 32 Mike Jet, descend 4000 feet, clinage 1018.
Yeah, it's not the most scenic route at the moment, this sort of out over the Bay of Biscay and just the sea. I mean, some other flights I've done, typically when I do a lot of flying out of Budapest and been down to sort of various places on the Mediterranean, there's a lot more nicer scenery or interesting scenery to look at. Also, if you go down into sort of the Balkan regions, there's some really great airports to land at there: Sarajevo, Podgorica, Ljubljana. Yeah, some really nice places to fly into down there. It's not really actually an area that a lot of people think to fly around, but there's some great airports down there to go and visit. Norway is another great place to go flying around. Typically I do that in my smaller aircraft I have. The Dash 8 Q400, also was it Dornier 228, I think I also have these are on P3D now. Also have the Twin Otter, but I don't fly that around Norway. That's more the Highlands and also out of Vancouver. But yeah, my virtually easyJet when I clicked on the roster settings sent me down to Lisbon. I visited Lisbon a few times before on Sim. Not on X-Plane, I don't think. I think only on P3D. So this is my first visit on X-Plane to Lisbon.
Fine, 3-2 Mike Houston, waiting 285.
Passing 285 degrees, Alpine 50 miles to left.
Following 1 Lima Zulu, descend 5000 feet, finish 1018, on heading, intercept together runway 06, cycle back to Fort Light.
10H1018, descend altitude 5000 feet, that's the local license, standing by for the flight, rolling 1 Lima Zulu.
Wind seems to be staying at a steady 40 knot crosswind. At least it's not. Quite a few flights done recently have been headwinds, which have been quite annoying, especially when it's in excess of about 100 knots. It does slow you down a fair bit.
Alpine 22 Mike Jet, 220.
220, Alpine 50 miles to left.
Subsea 71 November Charlie, descend flight 70, speed 250 knots. 70, speed 250 knots, Subsea 71 November Charlie. Flying 1 Lima Zulu, turn left, 020, intercept localizer runway 06.
Left, NEC at the sea, intercept localizer, runway 06, 1 Lima Zulu.
Soyez 39 pour la droite, cap 300. Droite, cap 300.
On est établi sur le jour 4 de temps de 5 temps, 23
Golf Golf Mike, contactez Villa 119 425, au revoir.
Villa 119 425, d'accord, approche.
That doesn't go any further forwards than that. Oh, if I can come down to here. Minutes. Performance.
Lima Zulu, speed 200 knots.
Speed 200, rolling 1 Lima Zulu.
On s'arrête 39 80, on est à droite, cap 020, autorisé approche IS 06.
Droite 020, autorisé IS 06, on s'arrête 39 80.
Running 1 Lima Zulu, I'll call you back Fort Light.
Still stuck with the hazy conditions, unfortunately. Ooh, what happened to the radio there? Someone tried to call at the same time.
Running 1 Lima Zulu, I confirm maintain 5000 feet, traffic 1 o'clock, 200 miles right to left, 1000 below.
Yeah, we have the traffic inside. Is this airplane going before us?
Yes, running 1 Lima Zulu, still 160.
Okay. 160, 1 Lima Zulu.
Il est 39 80, dans les 3 000 pieds, VH 1018 et le glide ensuite, s'il vous plaît.
3 000 pieds, 1018, puis le glide 39 80.
Allez, bonjour, 3748 Golf, on descend vers le niveau 100, Odilo.
Je vais à 148 Golf, bonjour, Odilo 5 Echo, il est à 06, matin niveau 100.
Odilo 5 Echo, matin niveau 100, pour la 06, en France, 728 Golf.
Runway 10 Limazou, clear LS runway 06.
Full ILS 106, we are reducing 150 with 1 Lima.
Roger, thanks. Alpine 32, McJet, the speed 18 knots, on waiting 320.
180 knots and right wing 320 Alpine 50 miles.
Upshift 71 November Charlie, descend 4,000 feet, clearance show 1018.
Let's check.
Runway 10 Limazou, you can send 3,000 feet.
We're fine on the glide with 1
Roger, thanks. On va être 3981, vitesse 182 minimum jusqu'à Cinétique, la tour 118, bonne journée.
Tour 117 et 182 jusqu'à 180, bonne journée.
Et après 748, on a 282, on peut les garder? Merci.
Alpine 32 McJet, turn waiting 030, clear at runway 06, à confirm 190 knots.
Fighting 030, clear at 06, we visited 180 knots, Alpine 50 miles today.
Runway 10 Limazou, contact 118, goodbye.
117, 119, Marcelo.
Bonjour, bonjour, Air France 88 Alpha Mike, descendre vers le niveau 100, expira.
Air France 88, Alpha Mike, bonjour. Malba 5 Echo, il a 06, maintenez niveau 100, avion, garde la vitesse.
Vers la vitesse, vol bas 5 échos pour la 06 Air France 88 Alpha Mike.
Alpine 32 McJet, the speed 1609, chasing express as reduced to minimum approach.
Street maps.
Alpine 50 miles today.
Frequency of 4 seconds or less.
On est en vente arrière main droite pour la photo de l'époque.
Alpine 32 McJet, the speed 150, report speed to tower 118, goodbye.
It is 150 knots, 187 Alpine 50 miles today.
Air France 748 Golf, descendez 5000 pieds, clearance 18, autorisé à approcher ILS 06.
Descendons 5 pieds, LHP 18, autorisé ILS 06, Orléans, rendez-vous Orléans.
There's endless high level cloud. Okay, hour into the flight now, so yeah, about probably about another hour to the top of descent. And then fortunately it's a straight-in approach, so we won't have to spend time descending and circling to land. Whether it will stay cloudy in Lisbon, I don't know. It is currently cloudy there. I don't know if the weather will improve by the time we arrive. It'd be nice if it did, so we can see something of the scenery as we come into land. Knowing my luck, it will be foggy or something and nobody will see anything.
Surface 71, November Charlie, turn right heading 285.
Right heading 285, November Charlie.
Air Force 4 minutes à Mike, descendez niveau 70, vitesse 250.
Dans le niveau 70, 250 nœuds.
Three maps.
Donc 48 Golf, vitesse 222.
222, Air France 248, Golf.
Air France 238 Golf, réduction de vitesse.
Répétez pour la 228 Golf.
Rappelez à la réduction de vitesse.
Vise maintenant vers 222, c'est ce que j'ai compris en fait.
Débrigez à 222 et rappelez-moi quand vous réduisez.
Ok, initialement on réduit 222 et on vous rappelle pour la prochaine réduction en France 248 Golf.
Merci. Surface 71, November Charlie, turn right heading 320, speed 220 knots.
Let's see where we are on Navigraph charts a minute. Okay, we're making good progress. We're about halfway across the Bay of Biscay now. In fact, I don't know if it's just up the top here on my screen, is the tip of the top of descent arrow.
Surface 71, November Charlie, turn right heading 030, clear on 06.
030,
Yeah, it does look like it. So we've got, by the looks of things, 320 nautical miles to the top of descent. So yeah, just under an hour. So yeah, 2.5 hours. That, yeah, it works out about right for the flight time.
Vitesse libre et 18 le tour, Air France 248 Golf, à tout à l'heure.
What are the specs? Yeah, sure. So, I'm trying to remember now. It's the graphics card is a GTX 1070 with 8 gig of RAM, and the processor is a i7 7700K 4.5 gigahertz. Using a 4K display, although I'm actually streaming in 1080 high definition rather than 4K. Flight peripherals, just a very cheap, I think it's called a Mad Catz flight stick. I don't have a, I would like at some point to get a yoke and pedals, but yeah, at the moment that's definitely a budget stick for sure. Hard drive, I've got internally, I do have think about a 500 gig SSD drive, and I think it's about a 2 terabyte hard drive, and then I've also got an external 6 terabyte hard drive where my ortho for XP scenery goes in. RAM, I've got about, I have to think whether it's 16 or 32. I really must actually yeah, because obviously this is a question people ask a lot, and I really need to add that to my stream information. So yeah, it's, I can't think if it's 16 or 32 gig of RAM. I think it might be 16, but I will go away and get up my spec details in the future for sure. In fact, actually I just realised something. I'm sure I wrote those down somewhere. Oh yeah, let me go on to, bear with me a minute. Pretty sure on my Facebook page I did put my spec actually, having said all this. Let's have a look. Let's see. Gotta find it now. Posts. It's the about settings. Hold on. Sets. No, it's just the add-ons I did. I thought I put spec on there as well. Jeep. And yes, Ismaila, welcome to my stream as well. So yeah, I hope that answers your question about the spec. Just to reiterate, that's a GTX 1070 8GB. The processor is an i7-7700K 4.5 GHz processor. Is the key stuff, and the RAM, I'll have to double check on that. As I say, in future streams I will have that details available for you all, because yeah, slight oversight on my part. That is, I know, a popular question that people ask on streams, what is your spec and everything, and I schoolboy error, haven't put it in. But yeah, that's basically what we're running here. 4K display, I find, although obviously you're not getting the benefits of it on the stream, as I'm streaming in 1080p, having a 4K display does make a hell of a difference. You can see the instruments a lot clearer for a start. So if you don't already have a 4K display and you are thinking of getting a 4K display, it's definitely worthwhile. Certainly as your main screen. I've got a second monitor here, which is just a standard 1080 HD display. So yeah, our top of descent marker we can now see, so we're about, let's see, 240, just over nautical miles away from top of descent, so we'll be looking at hitting the top of descent probably in around about 40 minutes or so, I would imagine. Probably could do with at some point getting a more powerful graphics card put in, because if you're wondering about what settings I got X-Plane on, let's just jump to that quickly. And you'll see that visual effects I got on high, texture quality I've got on high, anti-aliasing is on 4x SSAA, number of world objects high, and reflection detail. This is a big FPS killer. Even if you have it on the lowest setting, I was losing about 10 FPS on that. So what the different settings do, from what I understand in terms of reflection, is it's how dynamic the reflection is. So even having reflection on minimal, the outside of your plane will still display some reflection. I don't know if we can get you probably see it better when you're on the ground than in the air, to be honest. And obviously having a higher reflection level, it makes it more dynamic. Yeah, no worries, you're welcome. Thanks for the effort. Yeah, I'm trying my best here. Thanks for the appreciation. But yes, I'll certainly be sure for future streams going forwards to I'll set up all my specs Not just in terms of hardware, I'll also put together my settings as well. Although the problem with my settings is I'm notorious for tweaking them. Sometimes I spend more time tweaking settings than I do flying. Certainly in P3D, which I also fly. Obviously, we're an X-Plane 11 at the moment. X-Plane 11 I tend to leave alone more. But yeah, P3D I have a habit of really playing around with the settings on there. Finally got rid of the high cloud. It's still as hazy as anything, so we can't see the ground. That's really annoying. X-Enviro does seem to like its haze. Hopefully the next version. I'm using X-Enviro 1. Oh, I've got to think. Well, it is now. It's not the latest one, because the latest one I think is X-Enviro 1.09, and that has quite a few bugs. There's a horizon bug where if you as you turn the plane, the horizon will. It's difficult to explain, but it won't look right, and also it doesn't like you zooming in and out. That screws it up as well. So yeah, we're using, I think it's X-Enviro 1.06, which does a good enough job. As I say, I thought about getting Active Sky, but then I have Active Sky for P3D, and yeah, as I say, for X-Plane, I just wanted to try and do things a little bit differently from P3D rather than just try and use all the same stuff. Gives a bit more variety.
Vitesse libre, contactez la tour 618,7. Bonne journée.
In fact, I'll probably change the ATC to something a bit more Iberian now, because we've still got Paris-Orly ATC, and we're now not far off the northern coast of Spain, so I don't know if Spain's got any live ATC feeds. Let me have a look. No, it doesn't. However, Portugal does. So we actually do have an ATC feed for Lisbon where we're flying, so let's put that on now. And all we've got is the approach channel. Oh, okay, fair enough, that will do. So yeah, we'll have let's load up the approach for Lisbon. Is that on? So let's just go back. Let's go Portugal. Right, yeah, Lisbon Airport. Okay, so it's now tuned in to a Lisbon approach, so hopefully we'll get some let's back up. Can't Lisbon approach say something? Sometimes the ATC live feeds can be a little bit temperamental. Yeah, I think the Lisbon ATC's fallen asleep actually. Doesn't really seem to be saying much, does he? Come on. Talk to me, Lisbon. You'd think it's quite a busy airport, Lisbon. But live ATC is, yeah, maybe they're on their siesta. That's a bit late in the day for a siesta. Is that a Portuguese thing, siestas? I don't know. I have to ask my Portuguese colleague at work tomorrow. Oh no, he's on holiday. So yeah, Lisbon. Let's find out a bit more about Lisbon. Actually, let's not, because my wife has just sent me something on Messenger. Sorry, let me just look at this a minute. That's why, incidentally, I've got this time to do the live streaming at the moment. My wife and daughter are away visiting family back in Hungary. So yeah, we're heading to Lisbon. What can I tell you about Lisbon? Well, stand by for this. With the wonderful aid of the internet. Let's see. What is Lisbon boast? What are some fun facts about? No, I don't want Portugal. I want 10 facts. Here we go. This will do. 10 facts about Lisbon that you never knew. Okay. Let's have a look at this. See if there's anything worth Lisbon wasn't always the capital of Portugal, apparently. UNESCO World Heritage Site Guimarães, it's probably just murdered the pronunciation on that, was actually the first capital of Portugal, designated in the 12th century, and is nicknamed the birthplace of Portugal, and it's also where the country's first king was born. It's a short distance from Porto. It's an excellent city for a weekend getaway, filled with ancient buildings like the 10th century castle of Guimarães, medieval churches, and the archaeological sites are from the Iron Age. There we go. Following that, Jesus, these place names. Coimbra, apologies if you're Portuguese and I'm not doing a good job of this, became the second capital of the country and remained so for a century before the title transferred to Lisbon. And Lisbon periodically lost the title again in the 19th century. Napoleonic Wars caused Portuguese royals to flee to Brazil, and Rio de Janeiro was there you go. Rio de Janeiro was temporarily the capital of Portugal for 13 years. Now that's something I generally didn't know. City rubbish collectors were once nicknamed Almeidas, which basically means one of those cleaning crews once came from a fortified village called Almeida, located in the northern part, and that's why they're called that. Okay. Belém Tower was once a prison. The beautiful Belém Tower is one of the city's must-see landmarks and architectural wonders. It was built during the Age of Discoveries as a military fortification, but many people don't know that it was used as a political prison during the liberal wars of the 19th century. It's fascinating stuff, isn't it? Lisbon is actually a city on 8 hills, not 7. Well, thanks for clearing that one up. The idea of a city on 7 hills like Rome is certainly a romantic one, and perhaps that's one reason why this description of Lisbon stuck. However, it's wrong. And Lisbon is also home to one of the, and you'll feel so enriched in your life for knowing this, it is home to one of the smallest bookstores in the world. Located a few steps from the Escada Jesus, these place names. Escadinhas de São Cristóvão. Jesus, that really doesn't sound right. On the border of some other unpronounceable place names, this spot is worth a visit, but you may need to wait for space to clear, since the cupboard-sized shop, crammed with approximately 4,000 books, only fits a couple of people inside at a time. Lisbon is also home to one of the world's most top-secret recipes. For what? Pastéis de nata, loved by locals and tourists alike for their flaky crust and creamy sweet baked filling, put Lisbon on dessert lovers' maps. Even though they're made all over the country and found in nearly every pastry shop. Only 3 people in the world know the original recipe. Jesus, sure you could just Google that sort of stuff, couldn't you? The Lisbon Oceanarium has the largest indoor tank in Europe. It's located at the Parque das Unpronounceable. The Lisbon Oceanarium offers an excellent way to spend a day in one of Lisbon's most modern neighbourhoods. Filled with 5 million litres of seawater, the central tank is the largest of any indoor aquarium in Europe and holds a great variety of fish, from small tropical species to different kinds of sharks, deep sea fish and a beautifully unique ocean sunfish. Wonderful. Lisbon was one of the first, if not the first, international city to bring in Guinness. That's a fine accolade, isn't it? Excellent. Welcome to Lisbon, the first place abroad you could buy Guinness. Lisbon was known as a city of spies, and exiled internationals were welcomed in nearby Estoril. So wouldn't that be Estoril was a city of spies, and rather than Lisbon, sort of pinching Estoril's glory there, aren't they? Let's see, it's believed... Oh yeah, Lisbon's espionage connection is believed to have inspired writer Ian Fleming, author of the James Bond stories, during his time there whilst working as a British Naval Intelligence officer. There we go, that's quite interesting stuff actually. So yeah, a quick rundown to fascinating stuff about Lisbon. And that brings us up to 160 nearly nautical miles from our TOD. Plenty of fuel. I tell you, it's just no ATC out of this feed at all. I've just realised it's quite annoying. Okay, let's try another Portuguese frequency then. Let's see. Let's go Porto Airport, shall we? Porto Tower should do the trick. There we go. These Porto's awake.
Red? Yes, so we are familiar with the door flows, as you know, but as we understand, the reason for the slop is the weather in Brussels.
Oh, we can see some scenery below, so that's not ortho, because I don't have that for this area yet. Just there's still large parts of Europe I still need to download. Oh, we're slowly getting there.
So the weather in Brussels is absolutely fine. Can we expect improvement in the next few minutes?
I don't know for sure, but where do you send the ready message? You'd better to wait for more few minutes. Call you send improvement.
Okay, do you know about colleagues going to Brussels? Do they have a slot as well?
From all the traffic to Brussels, I have a spot.
Alpine 967 30.
Alpine 967 technical impact 17 via Fox Circle, start the pathway.
Let's see your runway 17 on. We are able to block the limits to the point Alpine 967.
Copies the Fox.
Yeah.
Do I need to accept the start approved 15 knots? But 1949, device to 65 Delta Scotland.
65 Delta Scotland, Portugal 119. Thank you.
November 1 in the Express via Tulis to tank 04.
Juliet to tank 04, 188 Bravo.
Foxtrot 949, roll clear of private jet on runway now at your right. Backtrack when up to 17 behind, and the advice will be number 245.
Behind the private jet from right to left, heading clear to backtrack runway 17 via Delta, and line up runway number 2 for it like that. So 19, together.
Area 3095, can you let us know how long do we have to wait? Call you, traffic behind you, come back.
Okay. Portugal, boa tarde, novamente, venho para o sul,
Connect to 633, boa tarde, Cito Ponta Delgada, vai at Move 1 55 100, Fox 4426.
Cito Delgada, Move 1 55 100, Fox 4426.
Connect to 633, is that correct? Alpine 967, report ready for departure.
We are ready, sir. Alpine 967.
Alpine 967, Roger, when clear, open Briar, backtrack now on runway 17, line up on runway 17.
Okay, clear of the Briar, Portuguese callers, you clear to runway 17 via Foxtrot, Alpine 967. Portugal, run it.
To 633, go ahead.
Question is, you would see, was another lot of work for you, sir, to try to coordinate with Santa Maria an entry point via that dock.
Stand by.
Copy, obrigado. Então, como trabalho para ti?
Opa, 969, wind 170 degrees 1 to north, may 17 to protect.
Oh, 17 knots. It's a good focus of two vehicles, offline line. 67 knots. There's a bus.
Okay, finally getting close to our top of descent. Plenty of cloud about as well.
Ok, sem problema, obrigadíssimo na net, muito obrigado na net. Yeah.
So we'll begin our descent probably within about the next 20 minutes or so, I reckon. It'll take us too long to reach that TOD now. Oh, I better get the approach charts up a minute. Let's view that. Airport information. So runway 21, and then we'll vacate the runway to the left and park ourselves up somewhere. There's a problem loading custom scenery Porto. Okay, that's fine, as we're not going to Porto. What I will have to do is go into my X-Plane log and see what scenery file it needs updating, because the libraries are forever being updated, and when you download custom airports you need various libraries. And well, I did update a whole load of libraries the other day, so yeah, I will check that out and see what specific scenery is, as long as I don't have the problem I did on a flight I did yesterday, which I wasn't streaming, fortunately. Which was a flight from Stansted to Tallinn, and I was descending, and then the whole simulator just crashed on me because one of my ortho tiles was corrupted. So I re-downloaded it. Hopefully that won't happen next time I go to Tallinn. That was rather frustrating. There's nothing worse, and I don't really want to talk about it too much, as I don't really want to tempt fate in this flight and have this crash on me as well. That's one thing I do find between P3D and X-Plane is X-Plane, because you have, or I have, not because of the simulator itself, but because I have a lot of freeware on here, it does make it a little bit more susceptible to crashes, unfortunately. That's not to say that P3D can't crash, it certainly can, and certainly has. For a while on P3D there was this, I think they fixed it now, it's something to do with GSX, and there was this transatlantic flight bug where for just no apparent reason, and typically on the westbound routes, as you got towards sort of the coast of Newfoundland and Labrador, the sim would just pack up. There has been now a fix for that from I think something to do with the Cootle files or something, but since I've implemented that hot fix from GSX, it, touch wood, hasn't happened to me again. Anyway, I'm glad I'll be landing soon, so I'm getting quite hungry now. We're going to have a dinner. You'll walk the four-legged co-pilot as well. Four-legged co-pilot's had her dinner, and she'll be wanting a walk, so yeah. But we should hopefully be back later for another stream, or as I say, I'll be going from Heathrow to Cork. I should hopefully have time for that later, as it's a relatively short flight. However, because if I do it, I'll be planning on doing it on VATSIM. It does take quite a bit of setting up. I'll do that pre-stream, or at least some of it. And then usually by that time of evening there's usually pretty good coverage on VATSIM, certainly across the UK, and typically often on islands online as well. So maybe we may be able to get a complete flight with full ATC coverage. Can't promise it. Depends on what controllers are online. It's it'd be nice if VATSIM was popular enough that yeah, pretty much every sector was filled. That'd be cool. But I suppose there's always going to be people always going to sort of fly to more popular places. Like, you're always going to get a lot of traffic at Heathrow, Schiphol, Frankfurt, places like that. You're not really going to get so much traffic at more minor airports, which is a shame because, for example, in Bosnia, Sarajevo, that's a very nice airport to fly into, but it's very rare you'll ever find someone doing the ATC for it on VATSIM, unfortunately. Shame. Don't know why more people on VATSIM don't actually fly there, but there we go. As I say, if you're looking for new destinations to try that you may not have thought about going before, I can certainly recommend Sarajevo. Split in Croatia is another very nice place to fly into. It's got quite a scenic approach if you're landing from the north. So yeah, it's quite a lot of nice places to fly to in that region. Okay, we're about 80 nautical miles from our top of descent, so what we'll do now is we'll set up our approach page on the FMC. So we're going to need the QNH for I'll get the weather update from Flight Radar 24, which I've got app on my phone. So we go to Lisbon and show weather. So Lisbon weather, we're seeing 1008 on the QNH. Temperature is currently 15 degrees. And the wind's 190 at 7 knots, so yeah, quite windy. Oops. Descent height, I need to get that from the charts, so let me just go on my Lisbon charts a minute. Approach, I said runway 21, intercept at 4,000 feet. Decision height for a Cat 1 approach is 200. It's typically 200 at a lot of airports, not always. But, there we go. And our V approach speed will be 134 knots. Quite slow. The Airbus always seems to have a slower approach speed than the 737. I don't particularly know why, but that just seems to be the way it is. Okay. So yeah, finally getting towards that part of the flight that is, let's be honest, the bit that everyone wants to watch. I said, you know, when I watch other streams on YouTube, I don't always have a lot of time to watch them, and I typically just skip to the landing bit. I think that's the bit everyone wants to see if they mess it up or something. Hopefully I won't mess this up. It'll be a bit of an inauspicious beginning to my streaming career if I snap the undercarriage off or something. That's, as I say, the flight factor A320 can be a little bit tricky. If you get the rate of descent wrong, then you can end up slamming it into the ground quite happily. Hopefully we won't do that here. It'd be nice to kind of look like I know what I'm doing with this. We've got Porto ATC online for the background chatter because the Lisbon guy was asleep. I tried that, maybe just because the stream's down for Lisbon. It's a shame. It's so immersive on this when you're actually flying into an airport that's got live ATC on in the background. It's pretty cool actually. Not a very sunny day across Portugal actually, is it? I mean, overcast and 15 degrees. So actually probably warmer here in the UK. It's been about 16 degrees here, although as I look out the window it is, in fairness, looking quite hazy. So that earlier on haziness we had as we departed, it's probably quite accurate actually, because looking at the sky it is quite hazy. Getting closer. Actually, have a look. Oh yeah, that's completely overcast, but see glimpses of the ground down there. Mostly default scenery. As I say, once we get closer to Lisbon, we will get. I do have a couple of ortho tiles generated around there, so hopefully they'll look good. Hopefully the runway will not be too lumpy. Hello, hi, welcome to the stream, Her Fam Tai. I hope I said your name correctly. You've joined us at a good time because we will be hitting the top of descent in about 60 nautical miles. So we'll be landing probably in about 40 minutes from now. Inbound from Luton to Lisbon, expecting a runway 21 arrival. In fact, I say expecting, I know it's going to be a runway 21 arrival because I'm flying offline, so I can make it whatever runway I want, really. So it's going to be runway 21. So straight in approach, and fairly straightforward. Just check, actually, you've got the right ILS frequency set on the nav page here. So ILS frequency is 109.50. Let's check my charts. Yeah, 109.5, that's brilliant. Yeah, certainly got plenty of fuel left. Been in the air now nearly an hour and 3/4, going 1 hour 45. So yeah, the flight time was estimated to be in the region of about 2.5 hours. So yeah, it's about right. 45 minutes to landing. I would say maybe a little bit longer, because we got a slight headwind, not too much. Nothing that should really slow us down too much. Ground speed is still about 436 knots, which is okay. Would be nice to have a nice tailwind, but that can work against you a bit as you're coming into land if it's too strong. You have trouble slowing down.
Line 20 export. Go ahead, New slot 1617.
So yeah, just to remind you all, I'm hoping to do another stream later on. It's just going to be a short hop from Heathrow to Cork in Ireland. That will be flown on P3D, because I don't have the ortho tiles for that part of Ireland yet, and I like to mix up the simulators. That will be flown on VATSIM though, so if you're interested or curious about VATSIM and how it all works, then join me for that, and hopefully if there's some ATC online, you'll get to see how things work in VATSIM. It's a lot of fun flying on VATSIM, which if you do as well, then you'll know, and if you don't, then yeah, you're missing out on a lot of fun. Usually there's good ATC coverage. Let's see, the time now is 5:05, so we'll be landing near enough 6. Yeah, I can't say for certain when the stream will be. I'd like to give you a definite time, obviously, but I've got to go, after I finish this flight, I've got to go and do a few things. I can't say for certain how long that will take, but let's say we're looking around about 8 o'clock or 2000 hours UK time, which would be 1900 Zulu. Of course, we're British summer time now, 1 hour ahead of Zulu time. So that's what I'm aiming for, but hopefully won't be any later than that. And that'll be a nice short flight. That's literally only going to take me not much more than an hour to get from Heathrow across to Cork. And that will be flown in a 737-800 PMDG.
November 613 in the process standby.
Okay, we're really not far away now from that top of descent. Less than 30 nautical miles to go, so we'll be able to begin our descent very soon. Hopefully my ortho tiles won't be corrupted, because if they are, that will just kill this flight, which is not good for streaming business really, is it? It's a bit much. Oh yeah, thank you for being here with me for the last hour or so, and then it starts descending and it crashes. I say this because I did actually have this happen to me yesterday, not on a stream fortunately, but on my way to Tallinn. It's a bit frustrating. So hopefully we won't have the same problem here, and we will have a nice uneventful arrival into Lisbon. So as well as obviously streaming flights on my channel, I'm also been putting together some tutorials. I will continue to put together tutorials, so feel free to go and check those out. And yeah, if you would like to have a look at my add-ons, which I think I have listed, and if you'd like to see a tutorial for anything or an explanation of anything, then leave a comment, leave a message, and yeah, I'll see what I can do. Hopefully I'll be able to answer your questions. I think so far tutorial wise I've done PMDG 737 tutorials, SimBrief tutorial, Navigraph tutorial, and I have actually done a FFA320 tutorial. There are subtle differences between, let's say, a FFA320 and the FS Labs A320 and P3D in how you set things up. I mean, most of it's the same, certainly from a switch perspective, but there are little subtle differences within the FMC that, yeah, I will obviously be doing specific streams for specific planes. Most of my planes I do tutorials for. There's some planes that I sort of fudge my way through it, so I don't really know them inside out enough to be able to bring you know, people an informative tutorial. So yeah, I'm thinking of the CRJ actually, where I still can't figure out where half the switches are. There's one specific switch or button, I forget what it's called now, but I've just never for the life of me been able to find it. Maybe I'll stream a flight at it, and maybe someone watching will be able to tell me. There you go. That's another reason for doing these streams, not just to teach you people things. Hello Yasin Haider, do you know what X-Life is? Yes, X-Life, as far as I understand, is supposed to inject AI traffic. I don't use it because typically I fly online in VATSIM, although I'm not at the moment, but as far as I'm aware it is a AI traffic package. However, be aware it may have changed, but as from what I remember reading about it, it's not supported by all airports, so you may have some discrepancies of how planes handle and taxi and move about on the ground, but that essentially is what X-Life is, to answer your question. Okay, I can begin my descent now because we've got less than 5 nautical miles at the top of descent, so let's put this down to 20,000 feet. Don't know what's happened to visibility, it's suddenly got very hazy. Yeah, you're most welcome, yes, and I hope that answers your question. As I say, unfortunately, because I haven't used it, I can't really sort of tell you whether it's actually worth getting or not. As I say, typically or not, I do fly with online traffic on VATSIM. So I've never really, but although having said that, for P3D I do have Ultimate Traffic Live. That's quite good. Doesn't always do a very good job of following the ATC. But yeah, for X-Plane I typically fly when I'm offline without any other traffic, and then obviously when I'm on VATSIM, then yeah, there's whatever traffic is around. Anyway, we're now descending down into Lisbon. I was hoping to bring you some live Lisbon background ATC, however the guy seemed to be asleep in his control tower as there wasn't anything coming through, so we've actually got Porto providing our background ATC ambience for this arrival. So yeah, the key to the descent is, I don't know how well you can see it on your screens. Until we'll zoom in a bit. So obviously, if you're not familiar with the Airbus, then basically you want to descend on profile. So this little purple dot needs to stay nicely level here, and this is obviously we're on profile for speed as well. If it gets too high or too low, then obviously that's not great, especially if you get too high, if it drops down here. So basically you want to keep these nicely in the middle as we approach. We'll just check we'll just check the FMC, because just make sure the speeds are going to work. So by Renor will be 220, so I just need to get my charts up a minute. So I'm on the start chart. Obviously you're not going to see this on the stream because I got this on a separate screen that I'm looking at. So basically by, I don't know, that's 2A, so PT 280 knots. Oh, quite generous on their speed allowances. Okay, we'll leave that as it is. So yeah, 220 knots by Renor, which is there, and as long as we slow down nicely. Ah, hello, we got I didn't. Oh, jeez, why have we got? This is not a good time to spot a discontinuity in my flight plan. Why didn't I see this before? Okay, I have to troubleshoot this a minute. So we got Renor PT41 cat, and then for some reason, that's interesting. We get C1 cat again. Maybe 21. I wonder what's. I'll tell you what. Shouldn't have that disc. Ah, crap. Yes. So from C21 to Upcat. So let's see. 41. So. Cat. So what I want to do is take out that Upcat. I don't know how that's happened actually. Yeah, that Upcat. Clear that disco out. Can't believe I missed that. Anyway, that looks like it's fixed. Fortunately, it hasn't affected anything here. Okay. That's all good. Now take the descent down to 10,000. And I just need to see on my approach chart what the intercept altitude. We will intercept the ILS at Upcat actually at 4,000 feet. Oh, hello. Why did it do that to me? Didn't want to do that. Okay, for some reason we've lost. Ooh. Hello. For some reason it's thrown us off the. Having said this plane never throws a wobbly, it is now doing a great job of. I don't know why it's done that to me actually. Okay. Not really sure why it's done that. Recycle the flight director, see if that helps. I'm going to try and troubleshoot this now. Okay, that's very interesting. It's not playing ball at all. I'm really at a loss as to why it's done this. It's not necessarily a big problem because we can still in fact, let's do that in a minute. Bring that back. No, that hasn't helped it. Oh gee, why has that chucked it off? Hold on a minute. Yeah, didn't like something I did it? Let's bring that on. Never mind, this isn't far from a disaster. I'm at a bit of a loss as to why it's done this. It's because I'm streaming, that's why. Adds a bit of drama, doesn't it? But as long as we keep and I didn't want to do that. In fact, we've lost our pink line, that's annoying. Shit. So we've lost LNAV and PNAV. Let's keep that coming down. Oops. It's going to make life a bit interesting actually. Let's put that down on 4. I don't know why it's done this. There's nothing on here to say there's an issue. Passing Zamax. So if I go direct to Renor, maybe that'll solve the problem. Oh, let's go here. And I'm going to go direct Renor. Insert. Let's see if that fixed. Ah, there we go. That's fixed it, see? There we are. And unfortunately we're above the profile now. But at least we've fixed the issue with it. Easiest way to get back on profile, because you can see the speed's running with us now. If we extend the speed brake out, then that will help us get back on profile a little bit quicker. So yeah, I hope this doesn't bugger things up. No, I think we're catching the profile back up. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. Well, we say the local QNH here is 1008, so obviously as we get near the transition level. Right, we're back on. Right, I can take the speed brake off now. Yeah, we can arm that ready anyway. Later we will arm the auto brake ready. We'll put the seatbelts on. There we go. Fair bit of cloud about, but that was forecast, of course. So we've got the ground spoilers on, we've got the seatbelts on and no smoking signs on. Obviously as we drop lower we will I still don't know why it tripped out the autopilot. It's interesting. That's something I did when I changed the approach plan it didn't like. Never mind. At least we fixed it. So my ATC's gone quiet for some reason. I guess it's his turn to have a sleep. Although as I say, live ATC... No, he's back. There we go. Still pretty hazy down there, isn't it? I mean, you can see a little bit of the ground. But unfortunately it's going to be a bit of a grey old arrival into Lisbon. Which is it's the beauty of flight sim, really, and being able to fly with real world weather. That's one of the things I really like about flight simulator, or flight simulators these days, is that you can fly with actual real world weather. It's kind of pretty cool. Yeah, it's probably a feature a lot of people take for granted, but when you're someone like me who's been he's sort of gaming, if you like, from the mid 80s, then yeah, stuff like this is pretty cool. Okay, not too far away from landing now as we come down through flight level 130. In fact, the chart should tell me what the transition altitude is. Let's have it. Transition altitude here is only 4,000 feet. That's quite low. Typically I switch it over a little bit sooner, especially if it's quite far away from the standard QNH, because otherwise you get quite a large altitude discrepancy if you don't. So we'll probably switch over to the local QNH a little bit sooner to give me time to make any corrections, as otherwise you can find yourself sort of 1,000 feet off where you think you are, which is not so bad if it puts you too low, but if you're too high then it can be very difficult to get back on that profile, especially when you know, by 4,000 feet, well, we're talking about the altitude where we intercept the ILS, so you're really at a point where you need to be slowing down, and you're not going to be slowing down if you're chasing the profile because you're above it. So yeah, probably as we drop below 10,000 I will go on to the local QNH, which is 1008. We can cross-reference that with the X-Enviro weather briefing, refresh that. LPPT we're looking for, yeah, 1008, there we go, is the local QNH. Something to be aware of with X-Enviro is there are some airports where if the QNH, well it's probably all airports, but if the QNH is really low, like about let's say 0980, then it can cause a few bugs that puts your altitude totally out. And I had that a while ago when I did a flight into Belfast, and I had to go around because I was when I realised I was miles above the profile and the glide slope. So that's just one little issue it has. Anyway, let's put on those runway turn-offs, landing lights on, all good, seatbelt signs are on. Let's go to the local QNH, that is 1008. So as you can see, that puts us a little bit above profile, but we can soon get back on it. Yeah, so 2 hours 4 minutes, so we're going to be probably landing a little bit ahead of schedule. I think the flight time said on SimBrief about 2 hours 30, so we're probably a little bit early, not by much though. Finally getting decent view, and that is down there ortho for XP. That does look quite nice, doesn't it? Yeah, I like it. Shame about all the cloud ruining the view. Okay, let's now there is just one thing, obviously. My little what do they call it, smart cars thing here does record the landing rate. However, there's a caveat to this. Because I use contoured runways, it doesn't always record it accurately. For example, and that's not just me finding an excuse, because if I do a hard landing and whatever, or it says I do a hard landing, I didn't think I did. It works the other way, because I did a landing at Luton the other day, which came down, I'd say, with a regular sort of landing, and it said I landed at minus 30 feet per minute, which is rubbish. There's no way it is that soft. So yeah, it depends how undulating the runway is, but usually, rather than go with it, that's why I don't have a landing rate on my stream, incidentally, is because of the contoured runways don't give a true picture. Usually the way you see if it's a good landing is by just watching the replay, and of course a good landing isn't all about feet per minute. A lot of it is about how close to the centre line you are, and I'd rather be on the centre line and come down with a bit of a thump than butter it and be not paying attention, slow the plane down, and butter it and be a mile off the centre line. But anyway, so let's see, you know, slowing down nicely now, continuing our descent. We're actually below the profile, which is good. Always better to be, well, I say it's as good. If you're coming into a mountainous airport, it's not necessarily so good to be too far below your profile, because you could fly into a mountain. So you really want to be as close to that profile as possible for a number of reasons. Okay, here we are. We're getting close to the exciting bit now. Bit where I earn my money. So not the nicest weather for Portugal, really. A bit of a disappointment. So yeah, we're literally about under 30 nautical miles out now. 4,000 is our intercept height. I did switch the LSs on. Yep. Let's run through the checklist. Yeah, ground spoilers are on, seatbelts are on, no smoking, landing lights good. Auto brake set to medium. The brakes on the FFA320 do tend to overheat a lot, so as I come into my landing I will try and remember to put on the brake fan. So yeah, we'll land, we'll taxi to a random stand, and then of course we'll run through a few replays, have a look at my landing, analyse it. I usually give a pretty honest assessment of my landings. I won't try and you know, talk it up if I think it was a load of rubbish. I'll be quite brutally honest. One thing X-Plane doesn't seem to do, at least with X-Enviro for some reason, although I have got it set on, is simulate turbulence very well. Because yeah, we're not really getting whacked about at the moment. Maybe there's a setting I need to reactivate. I can't remember. I have to look into that, because I'm pretty sure I should get turbulence in this. Okay, we're nicely on profile. I can see the localizer diamond is on there. So I tell you what, we will actually arm the localizer. And we will go flaps 1 in a minute. It's very easy to extend the flaps too early, and having done a lot of real life flying as a passenger and watching these things, they do leave it quite late often or not to extending the flaps, but obviously different conditions merit different flap usage. And typically as we hit this next point here, I'll probably go flaps 1 in a minute. In fact, yeah, let's go flaps 1 now. Here we go. And it really is such a grey, hazy old day out there, Jesus. Right. What did I say the ILS intercept was going to be? Oh, Upcat. God, that's a long one, isn't it? Okay, we're already slowing down. I want to see where I haven't seen the vertical glide slope. Now I have. Okay, so it's on the approach. You got to intercept it from below. We're slowing down nicely now. Ground spoilers are armed. So it's weather, gee. Why? Good job I didn't decide to make this a tutorial about or showing off the beauty of Ortho for XP. Instead of seeing the beauty of my clouds. Okay, so yeah, we got the approach mode arm, both autopilots active. So we should intercept the localizer and then the glide slope. Okay, we're now making the turn. Localizer, there we are. That means the localizer is alive. I'm now going to go for. I'm going to leave it a little bit. And let's go flaps 2. So when we start descending, I want to make sure I can slow this thing down. There we go. And we're slowing down nicely now. We'll put the gear down now. It's a little bit early. Typically you want to put it down around about, I mean we're still over 10 miles out, so yeah, it's way too early to be putting the landing gear down, but we will put it down now and go full flaps. A little bit early, could have left it a little bit later in all honesty. I just wanted to make sure I slowed down in time. Okay, we're now descending with the glide slope. Landing runway 21. We'll kick the autopilot off around about 500 feet. And then hopefully bring it in for a reasonable touchdown. Yeah, the Ortho XP scenery. I'm using zoom level 16, so it can look a little bit blurry as you come down lower. And then right around the airport I usually use about zoom level 18. That means a typical tile takes up, if it's full land tile, no water, typical tile will take up around about just short of 3 gigabytes of space, to give you an idea of how much hard drive space you need if you're going to use Ortho for XP. It does blend quite well typically with the default scenery. You don't, yeah, obviously you can notice a difference, but it's not as obvious as you might think. So if you were limited for disk space, just doing it around the airports you fly to is you can easily live with that. It doesn't sort of look too bad at all. Anyway, as I say, we definitely went full flaps and landing geared a bit too soon. We really should be doing it about now, as we hit about 7.5 miles out. So yeah, I do have a habit of sometimes doing it a little bit earlier than I need to. I have a lure script which I think is Control and L, there you go, which actually turns the lights on, because typically it only comes on in the night time and won't come on during the daytime. So there is a little mod. If you just Google or go onto the X-Plane forums and just do, I don't know, switch runway lights on or something, and I set it up so I just press Control and L and it gives me the runway lights. Anyway, let's just concentrate on what we're doing now. Okay, we got city of Lisbon down there, you can see, and we're coming in nicely now for runway 21 landing down through 2,000 feet. Well, the radio altimeter shows a slightly lower than the QNH. The radio altimeter is your actual true distance, and I think, no, actually one's to do with sea level and the other's your actual distance above the ground, I think is how it works. So this is your distance above the ground, I think this is your distance above sea I forget. I can't think straight at the moment. I need to concentrate on landing. See, the wind's 15 knots. Yeah, we're coming in nicely. Looking good. Looking good. See, outer marker sound. If anything, we don't half seem high. Or it feels high to me for some reason. I think we're okay. Hello, Lisbon. A grey old day. 1,000 checked.
1,000.
I've got my landing gear down, right? Yes. 3 greens, yeah. It would be very good if I forgot to put my landing gear down, really, would it? Stick the brake fan on. Okay.
Approaching 2-1.
I just said 1,000 a minute ago. Really?
1,000.
Okay, the runway doesn't look too lumpy, does it? There's some of the airports. You mean seriously? Ground proximity warning system.
Terrain.
Oh, getting a little bit bumpy. Okay, we'll kill that. Oops. Using that a bit.
400.
Let's bring it across a little bit, because I think we're drifting off.
100 above. 300.
Drop it down too low. Oops.
Minimum 200. 100.
Yep.
$50, 40, 30.
Well, it is a bit lumpy actually, that airport, look.
Retard.
Ah, there we go. That's a reasonable touchdown, I think. There's a bit of a rise in the runway. Manual braking. And we'll vacate. Can we vacate here? Oops. Yeah, why not? There we go. Well, welcome to Lisbon. Oh my god, it gets hilly over here. That can't be right. At least the runway's flat. Okay, we'll just go and park it up at the gates over here, where I can see all those other aircraft, and then we'll take a look at the replays. That seemed to be a pretty reasonable landing. We'll see what the landing rate said. 155, there you go, perfect landing rate. That's what you want to aim for. Whether that was actually 155, it's difficult to say because of the contoured runways. It's pretty reasonable enough. Okay, let's taxi on over here. God, this is hilly. Where should we park it? Should we go over there, or should we come over here? Oh dear, what's happened to the scenery? There's a plane stuck inside another aeroplane over there. Jesus. Okay, let's come round to the left here, I think. We'll go into these we'll cross back over the runway. It's my own fault for not looking at the ground map. Okay, and we'll just bring it in over here and then have a look at the replay. Oh yeah, I should be turning the APU on and everything now, but I typically, when I fly, I don't set up the configuration for landing. I just land, put the flaps up, taxi to the gate, and I don't really simulate the other things, because typically I just jump straight into the replay mode anyway. So there we go, welcome to Lisbon. It's taken us 2 hours 20 minutes, so a little bit ahead of schedule. Oops, oh, those brakes. Right, there we go. So for the purpose of filing my flight, I just need to apply the parking brake, shut down the engines, and then just go to here, finish, file the PREP. Wonderful. Okay, let's go and take a look at that landing then. Let's toggle replay mode. Yep, and there we go.
November 613 Lima Foxtrot behind the Boeing 737, short final runway 17, line up and wait runway 17 to section Foxtrot behind.
So this is a freeware scenery for Lisbon as well, by the way. Jesus, that other runway hasn't half got a hill in it. I think I'm going to have to choose higher runway smoothing values, because some of these runways aren't half a bit lumpy. Right, let's have a look at the outside view. And unfortunately with the Flight Factor A320 you don't get sounds on the replay, which is rather annoying. Aim down, and there we go, look at that, and pretty much nicely on the centre line as well. I'm very happy with that landing indeed, actually, I have to say. Let's have a look what it looked like from view, external runway. There we go, this is always a pretty cool view to see, especially when it's really windy or with a really strong crosswind, and you can really see how the plane's crabbing as it comes in. We're lucky with this wind because although it's quite strong, it's pretty much straight down the runway, so it didn't really give us too much of a challenge. It's got quite a long displaced threshold there. Here you can see the curve of the runway. So considering we landed on an upward slope, we did quite well to get the landing rate we did. There we go. Wonderful. Look at the external tower view. See the tower view as we come in. And then we'll just get a wing view, and then we'll be finishing off, because I'm getting hungry. Yeah, I think that's pretty decent. One of my better landings, that's for sure. And then finally we'll finish off with a nice wing view perspective as we come in. Quite mountainous, I say mountainous, hilly rather, around Lisbon here.
November 613 Lima Foxtrot, wind midpoint 180 degrees, 11 knots, runway 17, clear for takeoff, have a nice flight. Okay, so this is Alpha Whiskey, Sierra 801 on a point 801.
We'll get a view out the other side as well, and then yeah, we'll call it a day. Probably a little bit below. I mean, typically when you go over those piano key markings on the end of the runway, you should be looking to be about 50 feet. I think we're a little bit less than that. But other than that, a pretty good landing. So yeah, that's probably my only criticism of the landing, is probably as attached too low on the final approach there. Should have been a little bit higher. But the touchdown was good, and nicely on the centre line. So yeah, I'm not going to be too... there's a nice pylon in the middle of the motorway there. I love auto-jet scenery. Ooh, that's a nice bridge.
unit Alpha Mike, Volvo 81 departure, flight level 100, got 5431.
Alpha Whiskey Sierra 801, read back correct. Please confirm your position on apron tango.
Tango 047.
And there we go. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this Luton to Lisbon flight. Thank you very much for everyone who joined me on the stream, and yeah, and hope to and look forward to seeing you again next time. That's goodbye from me for now.
Tower, boa tarde. Desde Lima Delta Delta Uniform, Bell 8 Lima departure